Somebody blew out a fuse in the lab. Lights were out in there for an hour. Any one of us could have gotten to him.
The Thing. Stories beyond the movies, unraveling many mysteries, explained in great detail. John Carpenter's The Thing is nothing short of a legend when it comes to horror films. While it was a box office failure initially, the later days brought it the glory and worldwide appreciation for its horrific monster in themes like paranoia, suspicion, distrust, and claustrophobia.
It's cool, MacReady, it's cool, man, come on!
Yeah, man, just relax.
However, there were many unanswered questions left by it. We've already created a video in which we deep dived into various aspects of The Thing. It's titled The Thing Creature: Anatomy, Timeline, Real Form, and Future of the Franchise Explored in Detail. But don't worry, we'll leave the link in the description.
We'll do you last.
Coming back, in this video, we will explore the comics that went to great lengths to describe what happened to MacReady and Childs after the first film ended. Did they survive? Was one of them the Thing? Did they kill each other? We will not only answer these questions, but also talk about what happened to the Thing before the events of the 2011 prequel. Basically, we'll track the Thing's history from 1121 AD to the events after 1982. So, our brothers and sisters from another world, get yourselves comfortable and grab your fire extinguishers, because MacReady here is going to use a lot of flamethrowers on the Thing. Let's go for a small recap and learn about the timeline of the Thing's presence on Earth. Several thousand years ago, a spaceship crashed into the Antarctic. It was carrying an ancient life form that had the capability to infect others and take their exact form. In the 2011 prequel, we see that a group of Norwegian and American researchers find a frozen alien underneath the ice. They considered it the century's discovery and brought it to their outpost. However, the alien soon came alive and started attacking and replicating its victims. They all went into a state of panic and paranoia because it was difficult to figure out who was an assimilated monster and who was their real self. Upon realizing that the Thing could only be killed by burning it to the ground, a crew member named Lars set ablaze the entire outpost. However, the Thing had transformed into a dog and ran away. The 1982 film started at this point. The dog entered US Outpost 31 and was being followed by Lars and a helicopter pilot. Upon reaching Outpost 31, the helicopter blew up and the pilot started shooting at the dog. The Americans shot him dead in self-defense. Later, the same fate befell upon the crew of Outpost 31.
He's got no way out of here. Just wants to go to sleep in the cold until the rescue team finds it.
Under these circumstances, the helicopter pilot MacReady took the reins of the outpost and pledged to destroy the Thing or die trying. At the end, only MacReady and Childs survive, but their fate is unknown and grim. Before we get into the explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click from you, but it means a lot to us. Thank you. Let's begin.
What are you doing, Doc?
Could be important work. I want to take it back with us.
Well, it's getting late.
Number 1. The Thing from Another World, 1991. Issue number 1. The comic serves as a direct sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing and is set only a few hours after the events that took place. After Outpost 31 was destroyed, we saw MacReady and Childs sipping on a bottle of Justerini and Brooks. They were waiting to either be rescued or to just freeze to death in the sub-zero temperatures. However, in a strange turn of events, a Japanese whaling vessel named Misaki Maru finds MacReady and gets him on board for treatment. When MacReady gains his senses, he panics and gets violent. Upon his inquiry, the Japanese doctor tells him that his friend Childs brought him to the coastline and went back to the outpost to get the others. MacReady gets further agitated upon hearing that Childs has gone back, but the Japanese crew feared that he would hurt himself, and they sedated him. Upon waking up, MacReady cuts through his restraints and immediately takes the blood test to ensure that the Thing didn't infect him. The hissing sound of the evaporating blood gave him a sigh of relief, and he started finding a way out of the ship. To his surprise, he found himself a Hughes 500 helicopter. He stole it to fly to his destroyed outpost with the intention of burning whatever remained of the Blair Thing, Clark, Knowles, and Copper. He reached the base and gathered whatever fuel he could and burned as many of the transformed bodies he was able to find. However, before he could destroy the last one, a SEAL team led by Commander Erskine stopped him and took him as a prisoner. They were sent on a rescue mission to Outpost 31 after smoke was detected arising from it. Upon seeing what MacReady was doing, they thought he was responsible for it. Erskine doesn't believe anything about the alien that MacReady tells him, but this was until he saw one of the SEALs named Pybus transform into the thing and destroy the chopper that was supposed to be their getaway vehicle. Pybus thing killed all the Marines before MacReady and Erskine could take it down with a grenade. MacReady, Erskine, and the pilot get into a reluctant partnership to reach an Argentinian base. On their way, the three of them get lost in the piercing emptiness of the Antarctic. However, in a fortunate turn of events, Childs and a crew from the Argentinian base find them. Issue number 2. MacReady, Childs, Erskine, and the wounded helicopter pilot head to the Argentinian base with the crew, and MacReady brings Childs up to date with the developments. Upon actually reaching the Argentinian base, MacReady freaked out because it was huge and heavily populated, which meant that if any of them were infected, it would be easy for the thing to go loose. But Childs had already updated the Argentinians about the blood test. Naturally, the Americans were taken to an isolated spot to be tested. Childs and MacReady passed the test, but as the doctor approached the wounded pilot, he transformed into the thing and started assimilating with the doctor. Erskine, MacReady, and Childs tried to kill it, but it escaped. The three of them followed it, but lost it in the huge ice fields. The sun was going down by now, and they were forced to call off the search, when suddenly, Childs fell down a deep crack in the glacier. Interestingly, it was the hideout for a huge thing. The search party quickly pulled Childs up and blew the thing up with explosives. On their way back, Childs and MacReady realized that Erskine was never really given the blood test. Furthermore, the blood test was interrupted by the pilot thing, and it could have been a plot to save Erskine from taking the test. Also, Erskine was somehow in too much of a hurry to reach the radio room to contact the mainland. In Childs' words, Erskine was checking his watch more than a referee in overtime. These suspicious activities made Childs and MacReady rush to the radio room, only to find the communication crew murdered and the equipment destroyed. MacReady read the communication log and concluded that Erskine had called in an American submarine, apparently for rescue. Without wasting another moment, they gave Erskine a chase on the snowmobiles. Upon finding him, MacReady shot a bullet from his rifle right into Erskine's head, but it had no effect on him, proving that it was now Erskine Thing that they were facing. With its cover blown, Erskine Thing transformed into a grotesque monster, much on the same lines as the dog thing from the first film. It broke into the submarine to slaughter the crew. MacReady and Childs went after it inside the sub, which by now was diving deep, only to collide against a rock, getting damaged and beyond repair. MacReady tells the survivors that the only way to kill Erskine is to burn it to the ground. However, using fire inside the submarine was not possible because it would use up all the oxygen or even explode the submarine's hull. In a final bid to survive, they decide to reach the escape pod, but Erskine Thing began to attack and assimilate with the survivors. Childs then decided to play hero, and he blew the submarine's hatch. It blasted MacReady out of the submarine and onto the surface. He took refuge on a small piece of an ice block, but he was now wet, and the icy wind would probably kill him within minutes.
What's that?
It looks like something buried under the ice.
Number 2. The Thing from Another World. Climate of Fear. Issue 1. MacReady was left stranded on ice when he blasted out of the submarine. He would have died because of the severe frostbite and hypothermia, had it not been for the Argentinian personnel who followed him and Childs when they left to nab Erskine. They rescue MacReady and take him to the base, but before that, one of their own gets attacked by a still assimilating Erskine Thing. The Argentinians take MacReady to a secluded research base in Argentina itself. After many days of unconsciousness, MacReady woke up under the care of Dr. Sabia and Sergeant Agapito. His experiences at Outpost 31 and then the Argentinian outpost had left him violent and paranoid. He instantly attacked whoever was present in front of him and attempted to run away, but was stopped by personnel. He was supposed to be watched over at all times, and when Agapito went to relieve a soldier, MacReady attacked him and took his gun. He massacred a nearby barn full of sheep with the automatic rifle and stopped only when he was tranquilized. As the cook Pablo was inspecting the sheep carcass to salvage meat, one of the surviving sheep transformed into the Thing and began assimilating with him, becoming large and grotesque when military personnel arrived. They opened fire upon the sheep Thing, but bullets only caused it to split into more creatures. Ultimately, one of the personnel named Raymond told Agapito that they should burn the monster. After torching the various parts of the sheep thing, Dr. Sabia pointed out that the sheep weren't there in Antarctica, so if they got infected, it had to be from someone else who was a part of the rescue party that brought MacReady from Antarctica to Argentina.
Nobody trusts anybody now.
Issue number 2. The night brought with it darkness and tension. The sense of paranoia that had engulfed the staff of Outpost 31 was now consuming Sergeant Agapito and his team. Dr. Sabia tried to test the personnel, but they were apprehensive, assuming that she might mark them falsely positive or subvert the results to save herself. Meanwhile, a misanthrope named Dr. Deseado got into a brawl with Agapito. Deseado attempted to shoot Agapito but was shot dead by a soldier named Cruz. Agapito calmed Cruz down and instructed him to bury Deseado's body. 2 men were employed for the night watch while the others slept. They saw a figure rising from the darkness of the night, and it turned out that it was the Deseado thing. It wasted no time to attack and assimilate with the guards. Upon waking up, they find that MacReady escaped after tying up the sergeant and destroying the communications room. The soldiers begin searching an abandoned aircraft hangar for MacReady. However, upon reaching the place, they face a huge Deseado thing who is trying to construct a plane for itself. The soldiers attack it, but to no avail. Fortunately, MacReady arrived with a flamethrower and attempted to scorch the thing into smithereens. However, it managed to transmute a part of its body into an ape that broke free of the main body mass and attempted to escape into the jungle. In a strange turn of events, MacReady finds that an American team led by Childs killed the ape thing. After fighting the beasts and winning, Childs and the Americans subject Argentinians and MacReady to the blood test. Interestingly, MacReady's blood started jumping out of the petri dish when Childs tried to burn it. Issue 3 and 4. The third issue of the series reveals that it was Childs who was the thing. The Childs thing chases Dr. Sabia and MacReady through the jungles. However, a second American team that was sent with Childs' team incinerated Childs' thing. Meanwhile, Sergeant Agapito realizes that the thing has infected the entire base. In fact, Raymond Thing started assimilating with Agapito. It is well known that desperate times call for desperate measures. So, in order to stop the infection from spreading, Agapito cut off his own arm with a machete. He fled them and went into the forest, while the things assumed that he wouldn't be a threat to them because he was injured. One of the things wrapped its body with dynamite and went for a suicide bombing, killing the entire second unit of Americans, but not before the commander called in a napalm airstrike. MacReady and Dr. Sabia narrowly escaped the mess and reached the hangar from Issue 2, where they discovered that the things were busy completing the construction of the aircraft that Deseado thing was working on. MacReady had begun to lose all hope when the wounded Agapito arrived. The 3 of them then covered the hangar's perimeter with gasoline and torched it. However, a spider thing almost the size of the hangar emerged from the shackles and pursued MacReady, Sabia, and Agapito. The sergeant was losing an immense amount of blood and was unable to run, so MacReady asked them to split up in the hope that the spider thing would chase him. It worked for a while, but the spider thing cornered MacReady. However, the airstrike that the commander had called arrived just in time to burn the hell out of the spider thing. Number 3. The Thing from Another World, Eternal Vows, 1993. Issue 1. American sailor Simon Powell gets stuck with his crew in the ship named Gettysburg in the small town of Wallace Harbor. After Wallace Harbor witnessed several murders, the authorities docked the American ship and asked the crew to stay in the town until the murderer was found. Meanwhile, at the Wallace Harbor Hotel, a local named John accuses an American sailor named Holt of being the murderer, and the 2 of them get into a fight. However, Detective Sergeant Rowan was quick enough to reach the spot and put an end to the fight. Nearby, Sergeant Rowan hears the wailing cries of an old fisherman, and he rushes in the direction of the voice. Unfortunately, he was late and found the mutilated body of the guy, who was attacked and killed by a monstrous beast that had several tentacles protruding out of its body. Strangely, Holt and Powell happened to be present near the crime spot. The next day, Powell's girlfriend Jennifer woke up with a terrible hangover, but left for her work anyway. Sergeant Rowan arrived to meet Jennifer and asked her questions about Powell, including what he was doing with her the previous night. After his questioning, he told her that Powell's body was found close to the docks. Upon hearing this catastrophic news, Jennifer collapsed and left for home. Her physical condition was deteriorating by now, and the news of Powell's death was only worsening it. Her cat was observant enough to notice how inhuman Jennifer was becoming and attacked its master, only to be killed by a Jennifer who had now mutated into a tentacled beast. Suddenly, she hears Powell in her head, who told her that she was dead, but she's becoming something entirely different, and that she must kill and consume to survive. The issue ended with Jennifer saying that she remembered everything. Issue number 2. Following Powell's instructions, Jenny Thing went out for her first kill and waited at a dark alley for somebody to pass. The unfortunate victim was Holt, who had left the bar some time back and came across Jenny Thing. She tried to kill him with her tentacles, but to her surprise, Holt turned out to be Powell Thing, who had killed Holt back at the dock and assimilated with him. At Jenny's apartment, Powell merges his body with hers and lets her see and feel everything that Powell Thing had felt. It's revealed that he was, in fact, a part of Erskine Thing that had assimilated with a fish. The fish was caught by the fishing vessel Gettysburg, where it incorporated with Powell. After this ride down memory lane, Powell told her she should only kill to consume and replace her dead cells with living cells. He forbids her from assimilation because that would mean competition. Meanwhile, MacReady arrives at Wallace Harbor on a chopper and comes across the corpse of Powell Thing's final victim. Sergeant Rowan accuses him of murder. However, MacReady tells the detective sergeant everything about the Thing and the events that took place at Outpost 31 and the Norwegian station. They agree to work together and subject everyone to the blood test. By now, Powell Thing returned as Holt. His test revealed that he was the Thing. It transformed into a giant tentacled beast with numerous maws and faces all over its hide. MacReady used his flamethrower on it and burned it to the ground. However, before dying, Powell Thing revealed that Jenny is also a Thing. Issue number 3. Rowan and MacReady rushed to Jenny's house in an attempt to kill her. However, she jumped out of the window and fled. Jenny found herself all alone now that Powell Thing was gone. To get a friend, she converted her colleague Sharon. But even Sharon was too aggressive and she attacked and converted the customer who had just walked in. Powell Thing's advice of attacking only to eat was proving to be prudent. Jennifer Thing realized that the entire town would soon get infected, and when there would be no one else alive, the Things would start consuming each other. Therefore, she burned down all the boats and ferries and even destroyed MacReady's chopper. This would ensure that the Things would remain on the island and ultimately devour each other and starve. And she could leave the town and live forever by hunting only to eat. MacReady and Rowan soon found themselves surrounded by the converted townsfolk, and they figured that their only way out was going around the Gettysburg. To their horror, they not only find a pack of Things chasing them, but also that the Gettysburg has already left the dock. The duo figures that it's either swim or die, but Rowan reveals that he cannot swim. Therefore, he convinces MacReady to leave without him, and he would hold off the Things for as long as possible. Unexpectedly, Rowan turned out to be the hero. Issue number 4. After getting on board the Gettysburg, MacReady finds the bleeding body of Jenny Thing. However, it seemed to be a plot of some kind because no means other than fire was potent enough to kill the Thing. Naturally, MacReady took the help of the ship's Captain Banks to test the crew members. All of them tested negative, and then MacReady himself took the test. The needle of suspicion was now pointing towards Captain Banks. When MacReady asked him to take the test, he transformed into a full-fledged Thing and started attacking the crew members. Banks was, in reality, Jenny Thing, and it began to assimilate itself with the crew as they kept begging MacReady for help. However, he couldn't be of any aid, and in the state of helplessness, began pouring gasoline all over the vessel with the intention of annihilating it. The Jenny Thing was now an enormous monster that attempted to kill MacReady, but he managed to ignite the gasoline with his flare gun. The resulting explosion destroyed most of the Jenny Thing. In the last bid to survive, it transformed into Jenny's human body and begged MacReady to show mercy, but he had had enough, and he poured more petrol before jumping off. The ship's boiler blasted off, obliterating the entire vessel. Upon reaching the shore, a spider-head thing of Jenny attacks MacReady, and he quickly kicks it away. But before he could gather the courage to get up and destroy it, a massive wave pushed MacReady back onto the shore and knocked him out against a rock. The Jenny Thing was now too weak and was sinking towards the ocean bed. However, Powell Thing's voice told her that she might be able to survive by turning into a different creature. But in doing so, she would lose all the human memories, including those of Powell's. She visualized herself and Powell for the final time and relived the moments they had shared. Ultimately, she transformed into a fish, the same organism that had morphed Powell. The Thing from Another World, Eternal Vows, is not just a story about aliens from another world, but it also speaks volumes about the love that two people shared. Their love didn't die even after their death and departure from the human form. It lived on. Of course, MacReady is the true hero of the comic, but due credit must be given to the courage of Rowan, without whom MacReady wouldn't have survived or found Jenny in the first place. Number 4. The Thing, the Northman Nightmare. Prequel. In 1121 AD, a group of Vikings reaches the icy and frigid parts of Greenland. They had conquered many parts of the world and fought many people in their quest, but Greenland was different. Not because of the residents of the place, but because of the terrain itself. With ice preventing their long ships from moving closer, the Vikings decided to walk the last leg of their journey. However, as they started off, one of them got pulled under the surface by a tentacled monster. The second in command, named Horde, attempted to rescue the fallen fighter, but his entire palm literally froze because of the icy cold water. Ultimately, the palm had to be cut down. After tending to Horde, they resumed their journey and came across the strangest of sights. First, they saw the huge part of a hill was grazed off, as if a giant battle axe had cleaved it. Walking further, they found the charred remains of various animals and humans. Furthermore, one burnt carcass resembled both an ox and a Homo sapien. Finally, the men reached their destination, the village that was led by Bjorn Grimshaw. Initially, they discovered the village to be deserted and filled with the same burnt corpses when suddenly, 5 women presented themselves from out of nowhere. They told the men that Bjorn and his men turned against their own and massacred the village, especially the women. However, at this point, a local named Finn came out of a house and proclaimed the massacre was, in fact, the doing of these 5 women. The clan leader decided to imprison the women and Finn in a hut, but Finn tried to escape, and Horde killed him. At night, one of the women enticed one of the guards. When the others woke up the following day, he was nowhere to be found. The clan leader ordered his men to burn the bodies, including Finn's. However, as soon as they attempted to do that, Finn transformed into a huge tentacled monster. Horde flung his axe. However, it only managed to slice off some hair. They realized that the hair could live on its own. Therefore, in order to save other settlements, they decided to find the women and burn them all. The pursuit began, and the Vikings discovered that they were jumping into a deep pit in an attempt to fly away in their ship. However, they forced a herd of yaks to run into the pit, destroying the vessel in the process. A fierce battle ensued, and the men were able to take down the women and burn them one by one. In the end, we see the clan leader and Horde waiting for help, but Horde might have been infected. The ending is exactly similar to John Carpenter's The Thing. So, you loyal friends from another world, these were the 4 major The Thing comics that came out following the release of the 1982 film and its 2011 prequel. However, the comic named The Thing from Another World, Questionable Research, serves as a sequel to the 1982 film and completely disagrees with the other comics. We skipped diving deep into Questionable Research for the purpose of the video, but if you wish that we made another production on it, do let us know in the comments.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.